Happy Saturday, everyone, or it might be early morning or late in the evening if you're across the world. Sorry for the late start. I did say 10 and I kept you holding there as well on the holding page for like over 5 minutes, so a massive apologies. Thank you for your continued support and joining our Twitch coders community. There is a Discord channel below. Do join. What you'll notice today, so the reason why I'm late and what you'll notice today is my setup is slightly different. I've switched to the screen in the middle, the front camera on the iMac Pro rather than using the screen on the right. And I'm just trying to see how that works. The microphone is slightly off to the side as you can see, but hopefully it's still good. I am waiting for a delivery today of another light which will go up on the left because I have the light on my right at the moment. And you'll see that while I was doing all that, I was watching some Twitch on the big screen above. Oh, it's just gone into the screensaver. Let's bring that back. So I was watching Twitch while doing all that. So hopefully this is okay. I'm sure you've got a shadow on one side, but we'll get that fixed. And what we want to do today is continue from where we left off yesterday. And what you also notice is if I switch to my screen stream, as it were, and what you'll notice is I'm just sharing the windows. I'm trying to do it to make it a bit easier for people to follow the code rather than having two windows side by side. If people are following on an iPad or a smaller screen, have it so it's easier for them to follow and read. So I'm going to be switching between, and hopefully this works, switching between my code and, if I can find it, switching between my browser, but I can't see it in the list. I need to get that Elgato where you can just have the keys already configured with like the nice LCD buttons. And why can't I see it? I am on the wrong one, that's probably why. And I'm still getting used to all this live streaming, but thank you for your continued support in this. So browser, so if I switch to this, you don't see my browser. Okay, that is interesting. Okay, do I have to press this every time? I do. Okay, now you should see my browser, but I don't see it. So maybe sharing the whole screen was easier. So this is my browser, and this is DashboardHub. Okay, so we'll get back to that. We're doing most of our stuff today, continuing from yesterday where we were doing the Cucumber automated tests. So let's go back to that. So if I turn off my browser and I transition it over, you should see my browser. I don't see it, but you see it. Now I see it. Okay, brilliant. I had you muted by accident. Didn't realize you went live. No worries, you didn't miss much. I was just making excuses for my tardiness. I think that's the right word. My lateness, my tardiness, and for going to be a bit interesting with my setup today in terms of the lighting's a bit different. And it's going to be a bit different again, probably on Monday when I stream again. I'll have another light up here, and on me switching between windows. Let's get into the coding. Today is all about the coding day, open source coding. So this project is open source on GitHub, so do check it out and log any issues or ideas or anything you find and make some contributions. So yesterday we wrote some tests and they failed. We wrote the endpoint. And it still failed. Well, one passed out of the 4 failures. One passed, 3 failed, and the 3 failures were correct because we hadn't written the code. And we wrote some code, and we got a 500. The 500 was I had a config issue that I messed up, and we fixed that yesterday. And today we plan to continue with that. So I've just run the test before we started. And you can see I have still 3 failing tests, so there are 6 scenarios in total, and 3 of them failed and 3 passed. So let's fix these 3 failing ones. So the first failing one is, oh yes, at the end of yesterday we had an error with the total. Hopefully you can see that. I know it's hidden behind my camera, so what are we going to do about this? This is a bit silly. Maybe I will not put it on the right, I can put it underneath. Let me see, move to bottom. Here we go. That might be a bit easier. Hopefully people can see that. Do give me any feedback, anything I can improve. I had some really good feedback yesterday with the lighting, and that was really good. So I've moved it a bit higher, but I'm also, like I said, I ordered another one which is going to arrive today. And do ask any questions as we go along. The microphone's off to the side, so hopefully it's still loud enough and clear enough for you all to hear. Right, where were we? So failures. Here we go. So we've got failures at the bottom. And yesterday I was saying that we had the total 2, and it failed right at the end of the stream with saying 2 doesn't equal quote 2. And my mistake was in my test. I quoted the number 2 and I treated it like a string, which was really kind of silly of me. None of you spotted, so we were all tired. It was Friday, long week. So yeah, hopefully we won't make some silly mistakes like that today. I was quite tired yesterday. Okay, so that 2 is now fixed. I just removed the quotes and now it's a number and it passes. The next failing test is we wrote, I should say, and has an array field list and what's that? The modern day is now hosting my stream with 1 viewer. Thanks for the host. Awesome. Really appreciate it. And yeah, in list 1, expecting row 1 with these values. The issue is I have put in our where is it? Yes, in our data. Not this one. That's projects. Yes, this one here. P for the UUID. The problem with that is this is the mock data the tests are going to use. In the UUID regex, it's expecting 09A to F, and I put in P, so that's kind of a bit silly. So I need to probably rethink my my data, because I have in environments put E, so I knew which one it was, but that worked because it was below F. What I will probably do is what should we do? What do people think? Keep the E, but then nothing else will have a letter in front of it. Maybe what about if we ditch the E and just treat 1 as environment and then 2 as something else, and we can use a digit at the end? Yeah, we're going to have to, as you can see down here for tokens, I've used E2 here. So this token is part of the E2 environment, and the environment 2, and then I put token 1 at the end, T. I don't have T passed at the beginning. What have we got at the end? What have we got at the regex at the end? Oh, we aren't testing tokens yet, that's probably why. Okay, we might need to rethink that. What I'll do, I'll just get this working for the project and I can rejig this later, because it's kind of boring watching me just change some of the data. And one of my lights has just moved, which is quite interesting. Okay, is that like really bright now? That can work, it's fine, I'll sort it out later on. Okay, so I'm going to remove the P, and I'll probably just put a 1 in front of it for now, and we can sort that out later. So it's going to be 1 1 and then 1 with all the zeros 2 and 1 with all the zeros 3. But what I need to change is actually these tests, and this will be actually I even know what the UUID would be. So let me put that in. So this is looking for this is list private feature test, and it's can view my projects if logged in. Yeah, this modern day. Thanks for the host. Thanks for the host. I know you're writing on Discord, so I'm just gonna write back. I really appreciate it. Thanks for host. Thanks for the host. I can't even write in English. Okay, so I'm given I'm logged in. It actually does do a login, gets your JWT and hits the API. So it's doing a full end-to-end test. It is making this GET request. I make a GET request to project list. Status code should be 200, expecting a total of 2. And in row 1, we're expecting this one, and in row 2, we're expecting this one. The reason why the second one comes first is because in the updated data, the project 2 is, I shouldn't call that title 2, I should probably call that project, that makes more sense. Project 1 and project 2. So in project 2, the updated is later, so I'm just testing the ordering there. So let's update this. We can leave description as description 1 and description 2. One thing, but I can put in the UUID. We do know what the UUID is for the environment. So for the environment 2, not environment, project, sorry. Let me close that so I don't get confused. And it should be this one. can actually put that in and check it's correct. And this will be a 1, so I'll just change that. There we go. Any questions, don't forget to ask, don't be shy. And let's give that a run and see. So I am actually hoping now we have less failures. So how many? We had 3 passing and 3 failing. Let's see. I'm hoping to have 4 passing and 22 failing. Let's have a look and see how it goes. Just running now, so it's just dropped the tables. It's reinserting the data into the database. Let's see. Was that an error? I went too fast. I couldn't see it. Let me scroll up. Oh, got an error there, but not a major one. It's just I think there's an ID incorrect, which is okay. So either the code is wrong or the test is wrong. We need to have a look and see. Okay, so we've got 3 for 3 again. So 3 failed, 3 passed. Let's go have a look, see what went wrong. So this one says we were expecting ID 2, but we got ID 1. That doesn't sound right. I was expecting 2. So let's have a look at the test again, and let's then look at the code and see which one is wrong. This saves me kind of hitting the API and refreshing and doing it manually. Therefore, when I run the entire suite or make other changes, I don't have to go through and manually go and check all the endpoints and all the gets, the posts. The automated suite will just run all the tests, all the happy paths and the sad paths, so the unhappy one, to check if I cannot access it and make sure it's still protected. And we're going to add some more tests in a bit as well to really get those boundary conditions working. Right, okay, so this test, we were expecting number 2 first. So in the code, if we go to the code, I'm using Node on serverless, AWS serverless, with the AWS Lambda with the serverless framework. Ignore the lint issue, I need to go sort that out in a bit. And we are seeing if, so we're doing the private one first, so list private. Okay, and Dev Journey, yes, look into Cucumber. It's just writing in English is so easy, and the reuse is beautiful. I was showing yesterday how, I think you were here, you can just kind of write and, can't spell and should, and you get all these options about, you should have this field with a number, or it should be empty, or shouldn't have this field. I think I have a should not somewhere. I can't remember where it is, but there is a kind of a not, and there was all the negative ones as well, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so in this stream I need to get these tests passing. I even want to add some more features. This is just the get for the list. I want to do the get for the resource using an ID, the delete, the update, and what else would we have? And the create, the posts. Okay. I am ordering it by results and updated by descending. And the second one, because this is if I look at these codes, this says 932 and this is 942. So the updated of project 2 is newer. So it should be appearing in the right order. So in row 1, I am expecting number 2. Is this the right list? Make sure I'm not changing the wrong one. Projects. Because it's the model. Okay. No, we are updating the right one, and we are hitting this one. And I have got on the private one. Actually, I should have it is private. I just noticed. I copied and pasted it between the two, the public and private check, but I don't check is private field. I know we haven't got this far yet, but I just thought I put it in and I noticed it. False. I think they were both, that's false. Oh, and that's true, so the second one is true actually. Wrong one. Let's go back to the test, copy that, and the second project is actually a true. This one is a false. That's not going to change our test, it's still failing. But let's have a look. Right, does anyone see what the issue is? Hopefully you're able to read the code with the resolution, and order by results. I've got dot length is JavaScript. So the result should be an array, and I am expecting updated at, and then descending. And we did have, do we have a console log still in here? We don't, we've removed it. I could put that console log back in and we can take a look. It's obviously coming out in that order, but why? Why would it be coming out in that order? Let me see. Order by looks correct. Okay, we'll come back to that test. Let's see if it's the same for the other ones as well. Well, the other one actually, the public, well, would get 2 as well. But this has a bigger timestamp again. I've increased it. Let's have a look at the public test and see. So this is the public not logged in. So if you're not logged in the public test, we're still expecting to see the result because it's not private. So we are expecting, I think it's number, in terms of projects, we are expecting, and I have changed this by the way, as you can see, I left the test as title 3, but I did change the data to be project, and now that's broken. But also it is looking for number 1, which is interesting, because that has got an older date. So there's something definitely wrong with the ordering. Let me put the IDs in actually correctly for number 3, rather than just have a generic UUID. I'll put that in. And the same for this one. It won't have is private or is public. So it's private, true or false, because it's a public test. And from the code, we can see that is private is included in the private method, but in the public one, is private is not included in the attributes. So that will be omitted. So that's correct. What was the other issue? Oh yeah, this was called project rather than title. Don't be shy, everyone. The chat's very quiet. I know you've got lots of questions, lots of ideas, and probably lots of improvements to what I'm doing and suggestions. There are no silly questions, so do just ask. I asked a silly question on Discord channel this morning. Discord channel is called Twitch Coders. The link is below. Do join us. We do chat between streams, and we are across the globe. So there will be people chatting all day and all night, to help you out, bounce ideas. But I asked a silly question this morning, and I wasn't sure of the answer, so that's why I asked. And the community, wrote back and asked, and it was really, really good. So don't be shy. Right. So we are expecting number 3, and then we could do a second check as well. And though we haven't got this far, so in row 2, we would be expecting number 1 because number 2 is private, so it shouldn't come back. I'm just testing that. So this should be a 1. This should be a 1. This should be a 1. And as if I'm not logged in, and if I am logged in, I'm expecting the same results. Okay, so expecting the same. But why is number 3 not coming first and number 1 is coming first? That ordering does not make sense. So what we could probably do actually is console log the data and just check that the data is getting inserted correctly, and I haven't washed it up in the test data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of these step definitions, and I'm just going to console log the body. So if we just go console.log, I do have some errors at the top about spacing and it's inconsistent. I need to just create one commit where I just go through and just fix all that. That's too boring. I won't do it while you're all watching. So if I console log this response, we can do the whole response, probably a bit big, maybe response body, therefore a bit less. And let's run this again. While that's running, I'm just going to grab a water. I've got IntelliJ updates, we'll leave that for later. While it's running, do ask any questions. So where's everybody from? Where in the world? I'm in the UK. It's actually sunny today. If I was going to take a switch back to, I might have delivery. That sounded like motion at the door. My Ring doorbell. I'm expecting a ding dong at the door for my delivery. Can't even remember what I ordered. It's something for my streaming setup. Oh yes, it was to raise my iMac Pro a bit, make it a bit higher. If I transition to this, you can see that it is light outside. We actually have some sun in the UK. I think we're getting double figures today, which is pretty cool. Okay, so back to the code. Let's see. So we got 3 failures still. That was the door. Hold that thought. I want to put my be right back screen on. Holding. Okay. Okay, we're back. Apologies for that. It was a doorbell and it was a new toy for my streaming, so I'll be setting it up later on today, also with my other light on the side. Right, back to coding. So we had 3 passing tests and 3 failing tests. So let's just have a look at them again. So we put a console login so we can also go have a look at the actual data and see is the date not being picked up? Maybe something's quite wrong there because it's ordering in the wrong order. So I go right to the beginning. I think is this one. Should be the public. No, there is a private one before, which is also failing. Okay. So we can see here, can view my projects if logged in. So given I'm logged in, so we're getting 2 results. That is correct, but they're in the wrong order. We've got project 1 arriving first, and then project 2 arriving second. But project 2 has the newer date, so it should be appearing first. So let's just see what date it is. I think I know why the issue is. We're not bringing back the date. Okay, this is good while we're pair programming and talking about it. So has everyone seen my mistake? So console logging the data is actually really useful. The issue is in the attributes here. I do not have the data coming back, so it can't sort by it. That's kind of a bit silly. Let's just add that in. So if we just go, I can't remember what the filter now. Let's have a look. It was created at and updated at. So created at and updated at. I want to copy that and I want to put it in the one above as well. And this is the private. This is the public method. I want to put it in the private one as well. The private one is private, which is new. So let's have a look now. Oh, excuse me. So what's everyone's plan for the weekend? I hope lots of open source coding on GitHub. We could all have a look, give you some ideas, give you some feedback. Don't forget, even creating some issues on other people's projects does count as a contribution. So do that if you have an idea. I think it's a bit more green there. Sure, no worries, Dev Jenny. Thanks for popping in and saying hey. We'll have this all working by the time you come back. No, it won't. I'll probably break it even more. We've got some failures. That's fine, and I know what that one is actually. I've put the checking the wrong user, but that's fine. So now we've got 2 failures. We've got 4 passing and 2 tests failing. So we're getting there. And imagine when you have I don't know, 50 endpoints and with different methods and so on, you're making a change, you can confidently run the test suite and know that you haven't broken anything else. So for example, when I move away from AWS DynamoDB, I want to move to AWS Aurora Serverless, then Peter Neal, I hope I pronounced it right, thanks for the follow. When I move to Aurora Serverless, I'll be just changing the service layer just to talk to the database. And once I make a change, I can run all the tests and confidently know that all my code still works as it should without going through the API manually with Postman or going through the UI to try and see if it looks all right. So this is really useful. So if you're not doing automated tests, definitely have a go. You don't have to use Cucumber if you want to keep it more technical, but I like to keep it quite high level so anyone else can kind of read the test and make sure it makes sense. And a BA or a user, maybe a technical user, but they could also say it's actually not the functionality that I was expecting or I wanted, and you can update the test. It will then fail, and then you can update the code to make it pass. Do ask any questions about any of the technologies I'm using, about my setup or anything. Do jump in and ask. Don't be shy. We're all friends here. Okay. Let me have a look. Okay, so this test can view public projects if not logged in. So it's this one over here. can view public projects if not logged in, and the issue is the user I've put is the test user, the actual real test user that goes to auth 0 and gets a JWT. In description and in project 3, what do we have? And in project 3, we don't use that. We're actually using a GitHub user. So that is correct. So the test is invalid. I might have to escape that. I think. Let's have a look. Okay. Second failing test. Same again down here. That's fine. We can just copy the whole line. And the owner is incorrect for project 3. So that's a mistake that I made. No one noticed. No one spotted it. Okay. Oh, it's just 2. That's it. Let's run it now. Okay. You're feeling confident. Everyone cross your fingers, your toes, your arms and your legs. Let's have a look. And once we get the API up and running, we can then move on to the Angular stuff, and let's get the UI working. Hopefully we can get this sorted today. We need the CRUD, right? We want to list projects. We want to create a project. We want to get a project. And the actual dashboard of when you go into the project details probably won't get done for a couple of days, but let's see if we can get this working. Okay, tests are running. 2 failures still. Aha, I did make another mistake. I didn't update this title to say project. We do actually want it to be project. And we have updated it in the test. I just did not update it. Let me remove this console log in the step definition. We don't need that anymore. And this says project and this says project. Okay, right. This time I know it's gonna work. I just know it. It's gonna work for sure. We're gonna get 6 green scenarios. Are you feeling confident? I am. I'm kind of watching in that corner. Look at that. Did you doubt me? I only broke it for like the last hour and 2 hours yesterday, but look at that. 6 scenarios, 6 passing. That's awesome. So that's good, right? We now have an endpoint that can get a list of projects, private and public. So by private and public, I mean some of the projects, well, one of them is marked as private, down here, in fact. And also, we are testing that as not a logged in user, there's no given I'm logged in here, I can see the data. And if I am logged in, I can still see the same public data. But if I go to my private endpoint, I'm not logged in, you get a 403. And if I am logged in, I get to see only my projects and nobody else's. So we've got that API working end to end. Can we think of any more boundary conditions? So if, let's think of the public one first, it's probably easier. So if I'm not logged in, which is what we've got up here, I'm not logged in, I should get to see all public projects. If I am logged in, I still get to see all public projects. I think that's done, that works. There's no negative, I don't think, on that one. On this one, if I'm not logged in, I cannot get my private projects because the API doesn't know who you are. If I am logged in, I can get a list of my projects, and it should only list my projects, private or public. That is done, so that's good. Okay, the more interesting ones is when you try to get a particular resource like a get. We should do that one next, because then you can try and get somebody else's, and we need to return permission denied, or maybe a 404 if we don't want them to know that the ID they use is correct. So we need to have a think about that. Let's have a look. Let's do this TDD style. Okay, let's create a new test. Let's have a look. Here we go, projects. So in projects, we're going to want get. Should we separate get public and get private? Yeah, we should, because you can get a public project still. We still want to do that. So we'll do get private feature. Let's move this over here. Do jump in if you have any questions. Honestly, don't be shy. There are no wrong or bad questions. I'll just duplicate this file and call it get public. That doesn't look like public. How's the audio? Hopefully it's okay. The mic's not directly in front of me, but hopefully it's still good enough for me talking in this direction. I have changed the settings for it to capture all the way around rather than just from one side. Hopefully that's good enough. Right, let's write some tests. Let's cheat. You know, I'm really bad. I copy and paste from my other tests or code that I've written and I make mistakes. But let's have a look and see. I'm just going to cheat and grab all that. Don't tell anyone though. Okay, don't do this at home. It's really bad. So I've got projects. It's not a project list. It's going to be a project. What do we call it in the other test? In the get. Oh, we just called it get. Okay. So get, and it's going to be get. This is going to be get private. Find my. Retrieve my project rather than find. I don't know if find the right word. Retrieve my project singular. So we're going to get just the one. In order to view my private, retrieve spelled incorrectly. As a logged in user, I want to view my private project. Maybe this. We're just going to get one. It's just getting that one resource. Okay, we'll seed in the data, and then can retrieve can't spell, my private project if not logged in. No, that's actually bad. Cannot retrieve. Let me think. Is there a yes, because it could be private. Cannot retrieve a private project if not logged in. Okay, so we're going to go to projects. We're going to go to /. Let's grab an ID of a private one. This one's private, so let's just grab this ID. And we're going to grab the ID. The endpoint doesn't exist yet, so we're going to get a 404, but we'll work up to that. Okay, what else have we got? I do expect 200 for my do retrieve it, and I should have. I don't know what I should have. Should have a field with that string. I should have a field. What are we expecting? We're expecting actually the UUID, right? Have I just called that ID? Expecting the ID to have. Let's paste that in. I am expecting the ID to have that because I'm requesting that ID. I'm expecting to have that one. Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll put in all the other fields in a bit. Let's see if we can get it working. Actually, Turlite cannot retrieve. You weren't correcting me. Do say if I make mistakes. I'll duplicate that because we'll need that in a minute. But if I'm getting a 200, getting this project, it is private. So actually, we're expecting maybe a 403, and that's it really. Nothing else to test on that one. And if let me see who owns that project. It is the test user. Okay. We can also test that we can't get this project. We don't own it. I can change that to a 3. Cannot retrieve a project if not mine. No, but we can retrieve a project. It's just going to have less information. Okay, so let's do can retrieve my project. Because the public one we'll do in the other file. I go to this number 2, it is private, and that should be correct. If I run this, and we'll just filter this now. We don't want to run project list, we want to run project get. That's from the tag at the top of the file. And we will see now. Let me just also open Slack just in case anyone's trying to say hey. I mean Discord, sorry. Slack, Discord, there's so many chat things. Getting confused. Okay, so 2 failed, 1 passed. Okay, that's fine. Let's have a look. What have we got? So the one that passed is... Oh, there's nothing really running in that one. I think that's why. Where is it? It's empty. It doesn't count. But with this one, cannot retrieve project if not logged in. Cannot retrieve a private project if not logged in. We got a 404. That's correct. We haven't done the endpoint for it yet, so that's expected. And then this one we've got 404 as well. Okay, that's fine. That's expected. What we will then also do is I'll do a similar test for the other file, and then we'll go stick the endpoint on and make sure it works. Right. Okay. So we've got it's still a get, but now it's get public. I want retrieve public project. In order to view public project. As a logged in user, I want to view. I don't want to get that wording at the top. It's just kind of standardish, but I've already made it even worse. Cannot retrieve a private project if not logged in. So with this test here, we want to say it's public, right? So you should always get, as long as the project is public, you should always get it. If it's private, then you shouldn't. And we've got this in the other test here. I just moved across the tab to the private test. So this one we won't be able to, we're not logged in, we can't get it. We need to say I am logged in actually, a given in there. Given I am logged in, and we can retrieve the private project. In the public one, we want to say cannot retrieve a public project. We've tested that already, so I don't think we need that one. But can retrieve public project. So given I log in, that one's not public, so the public data was number 1 because it's got is private false. So let's have a look. That's number 1. I'm expecting a 200 and I'm expecting the ID to be the one I got. We will check some fields because some fields we will hide if you're accessing it publicly. So don't worry, we will come back and fill that in more. But when we run it, we will probably get another failure now, and that's fine. There's no with the same error, which is a 404. It's because the endpoint doesn't exist, and we're going to go add that now in the code when those tests finish running. But Peter, Neil, do ask any questions if you do have any, or any suggestions. I hope you're going to do some open source coding today or tomorrow. Okay, so we got the failure. So let's go put the endpoint in. So to do the endpoint, we need to go to bring this down a bit. The serverless config, and we have here at the end. So we have our public project list and our private. I'm going to cheat and duplicate that, and just do the same for the get as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to do public project list. We'll rename that to be get, and this will be private project list, and we'll do that to be the get as well. What we also want to do is change that to, I think we've called it get in other places. Let me check in the code. Environment get, yes we have. So let's go call that a get public, and we'll say get private, and the endpoint will be projects, and it will probably be I think it'll be the same for both. Actually, we don't need 2 endpoints, do we? Let me remind myself how I've done it here. I think in the get we just have 1. Oh, we do have public and private on the get, but we could maybe combine that because I know why I did it as 2 is because I update the statistics if it's if you're viewing it publicly. I don't need to do the authentication piece at the beginning. Okay, so let me have a look how I did that. If I just do, let's go have a look at this code. Where it's probably near the top in terms of my API endpoints. One of the first ones I would have done. So environment get, this has got authorizer auth, so this is the private one. It's environment ID, and where is the public one? It's got view at the end. Let's just keep it consistent. Let me grab that and keep it consistent. projects. And for the public one, we put view at the end, and then for the private one, we don't. A lot of the times you can combine these, but the reason why they're separate is because the AWS Lambda and the serverless framework, it will call the authorizer function before it even runs that code. So to try and have that authorizer function say, we'll always let them through, but if they are authorized, we'll give them more data. So I've just kept it as two separate to keep it simple for now. Right. Let's have a look. So we've got those endpoints, and there is no code for it. So let's add some code. So we've got a list. Let's now create a get. So we're going to go get JS, and then probably can. We don't need in the project get. We have got these updating the views. We'll add that on later on as an enhancement. I don't think we should do it now. I do like the way that we have deleted the data, and I don't know why I didn't do it with attributes. Interesting. We'll keep it consistent for now. So I'm actually going to copy that file, which is a really bad practice. So if we copy it, and the models, I want project. I want this to be a project model. I don't need a progress because progress was for the environment. To know how far the environment has moved across, whereas the project is not going to have that sort of information. Okay, so for the public, we do want to get the ID still, and we do is private, is false. Okay, we'll have a look at that. I'll come back to that. Project model, we want to get, so by default we want to get is private false. That makes sense. And then we'll change this to be project, and then if there's not a project, then I think that should all work. Okay, and if there is a project, we want to update views. We don't need that now actually because I haven't done it. We could do that quite soon as it's quite simple to do. I might just should I do that now or later? It's not good to do everything at once because we haven't got tests for it just yet. So what I might do is keep it really simple. Let me see. I'm going to remove that. There's no tokens and no monitors, so we can remove those lines. Let me think. We don't want the progress, so we can remove that. Okay, I could comment this out as update, because also let's do that, and we haven't got that yet. So what I want to do, I'm going to comment that out. I want to come back to that today. So if I comment that out and comment this one out, that should be okay. And we'll come down here to the private one, and the private is just if you're authorized, just get the ID. I would have thought I would check to see if you own it. I do. Okay, so down here, if there's not an environment or you're not the owner of the environment, kind of kick them out and say on your bike. And again, we can remove this the progress to calculate it. There isn't one. That's a lot simpler, that one. Okay, so we run the test now and see. So we had 3 failed and 2 passed. Let's see if we can, make that 3 failed go down to maybe 2. Let's have a look and see. What are you thinking? Thinking yes? I'm not sure because I could. Let's have a look at the test. Let's remind myself. Let's delete the list. Not delete. Let's close the list test. Let's close the list code. And you're asking for that ID. That should work. Yeah, I think we should get that. We need to put some more checks in there. Like on the public one, we shouldn't get his private. But on the private test, we should. So let's have a look. Three failed again. So okay, we didn't make any improvement on that, but hopefully it won't be. It will be the same. 404. I know why we still got the 404 because I didn't restart my local serverless environment. Because when you make changes to the serverless.yaml config, you do need to make changes to that. So I'm just going to run that again and give that a second, then we'll run the test again and hopefully it's a bit better. Okay, that was quick. It's now up and running. Let's run that again now. Oh, I want that one. Showed you my keys again. How do I get better at this? I shouldn't just press up. I should have written the command. Let's have a look. Okay, 3 failed before 2 passed. We need less than 3 fails. 2 failed. What do you think? Have a guess. Let's have a look. Let's see. Come on, test. 1 failed. Not even down from 3 to 2, went down to 1 in one go. Nice. Okay, let's have a look at what failed. Just 1 test failed. Don't forget, this is actually it's a real API, and the test, the Cucumber tests that are written in Gherkin or practically English, I'm driving the API for real. So let's have a look and see. I made a request. So this is the Retriever public project. Made a request this ID. I was expecting a 200, but I got a 403. So it's this test that failed. Agathonano, thanks for the follow. I probably pronounced your name really wrong, so apologies. Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. If you do have any questions, just ask in the chat. Be it about my what I'm working on, about the project, about the technology I'm using, or even about my awesome setup. My TV my big TV I was watching Twitch on before has just turned off. But I don't need it, so I'll leave it off. But if you do have any questions about my setup or what tech I'm using, let me know. I'm improving it all the time. So yeah, it keeps changing. Right, back to the code. So it's failing test. So I didn't get a 200, I got 403. Let's see why. Does anyone see why? So I'm not logged in, which is correct. Actually, we probably need 2 tests. I should be able to retrieve a public one. Not logged in, so can retrieve a public project when not logged in. Can retrieve a public project when logged in. So I see the issue, the endpoint's incorrect, because for the, can I just say AGA for abbreviate your name? Is that easier? It's quite a long name. I'm working on my project DashboardHub, which is designed to track your environment and what version of your code is in what environment, be it test, or development, test, staging, production, and everything else in between. And so you know what version is in what environment, who deployed it, when they deployed it, and how long it took. And in addition to that, we've added basic monitoring. I can give you a really quick demo. Let me just make this last change on this test, and then let's run it. And then we can, while it's running, I can show you. So that should be that. And number 1, I do own it. So that's actually a bad example. So we should use number 3, or are we using number 3? We're using number 1. Let's use number 3. I don't own that one, so I think it's a better test. And then we're expecting number 3 to come back. Okay, I'm just going to run that, and then I can give you a demo of the code. So let's run that. And if I put on my browser, here we go. This is DashboardHub, and you can see that this is my test environment, so the data might be a bit on and off. This is just where I test the production infrastructure and the whole environment. And you can see that DashboardHub test has version 091243, and you can see DashboardHub, the production environment, has a slightly older version, which is fine. I'm using full CI to deploy out to both environments. And this test, is still waiting for data. And the idea is, am I still logged in? Let me see. Actually, I should probably go to, and the idea is you can see your releases. Okay, that's a bad example. Let me go to the production site, because the data will be a bit better. I haven't kind of launched anything up. You log in with your GitHub account. Log in with GitHub. And if I go to the test, it deployed 5 days ago, and this one's been 10 days ago. I think the production also has monitoring. So if I go to the production environment on the production DashboardHub deployment, and I go to releases, I've only got 2. Okay, that's pretty sad. I thought I had more. Oh, I know why. Because after 30 days, I have a TTL on the data. So after 30 days, it drops off the data. I might increase that, actually 30 days does seem too short. Let's put it out in the next release. Let's log an issue for it, actually. And where is DashboardHub? On GitHub. So let's log an issue and say this project is completely open source, so you can go have a look at it. DashboardHub pipeline dashboard. Increase releases TTL from 30 days to 90 days. And I won't assign it to me. You know, someone else can do that change if they want. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do the change now because otherwise I'll forget. And that is kind of a one size one, and it's going to be on the API. It's really that simple. Let me create that. I'm going to make this change for you now as well. The production environment was what I was showing you. Yes, and I've also got monitors as well. So it monitors your environment. There's a lot of dots there because it's 30 minutes. Whereas you release it, it's more of a, you merge into a certain branch and CI kicks it off. Whereas this is every 30 minutes it's checking an endpoint. So that's 7 days, and I want to keep that the same. Let me switch back to the code now, and we can make that change. How did the test run? 2 failures. Oh, that's not good. About 500. I'll have a look at that in a sec. If I go to the config and config template, the TTL for releases, for deploys or releases is that. I probably want to make it bigger. So I think that's 30 days. Let me check. So you got 60 seconds times 60 minutes. 60 seconds? 60 seconds times 60 minutes times 24 times 30. That looks very wrong. Let me see. But Aga, does that answer your question? We are using, we're not doing the front end at the moment, but the front end I am using Angular 5. On the back end I'm using serverless framework with Node and the Cucumber tests for automated tests. And if you do have any more questions or thoughts, do just jump in and say. Let's have a look. How did I get to that number? I can't even remember now. I don't think I need the 60 seconds, but it's going to be the timer must, the TTL is, it's okay for you, okay, cool. But if you see anything else, have any other thought, do just say. Let me think, as I'm on this, let me just change that TTL. I could double it, I suppose, or triple it, because I think that if that is a month, so if I do 678400, I'm just going to times that by 3. I'm just going to use that number. Oh, I just hit copy rather than paste. What a donut. Paste times 3. Right, copy this and paste it on this, not copy it, without the commas obviously. Let's increase that. Let's get 90 days of data. I think it'll be better. Okay, so that's now done. What did we get? I got 2 failing tests. We went from 1 to 2, so I've probably broken something. So go to this endpoint, and I got a 500. Why did I get a 500? Let's have a think and see. I bet you all, when I did the copy and paste, I pushed something up. Let's have a look. Okay. Aha, environment. It's not environment, it's project. Oh, I suppose, yeah, it is project. So let me just check there's no environment in here. Project. Let me just go for environment. Yeah, that's going to be wrong. That's going to be project. That's going to be project. That's going to be project. This is why copying and pasting your code from one file to another is so bad. We have no more environment in this page, so I bet you that's going to work now. I shouldn't have to restart the app because there were no serverless.yaml config changes. It's just code and it updates it pretty instantly. Let's have a look and see. How long have we been streaming for? Dead on an hour actually. Okay, dead on an hour. Got the tests we wrote yesterday passing, and we've written some more tests, and I'm hoping to get them passing now. It's going to be all green. Fingers crossed. Come on, let's do it. Don't forget to cross everything. I want to have a drink. I'm yapping too much. Let's see. 6 passed! Check that out. And don't forget that the it is actually doing a real call to the API. So it's doing a real test. So this JSON output here is actually what Formula API returns, and we will be using that in the front end in the Angular stuff. Okay, so that has actually now passed. So we do check that. Okay, let's add the additional fields to make sure we don't get the private fields that we shouldn't be getting. Let's have a look. And should have a field. What else have we got? ID. Let's go to the owner. They can see the owner. I don't think we should keep that private. That's fine. And the owner, or which environment is this? It's number 3. Will be this owner. What else have we got? And should have other fields that we've got. Title. So we want to check that the title is project 3. I'll just create these lines to really quickly copy and paste. Description. What else are we going to go? Is private? We shouldn't have is private, so we'll come back to that. We should get environment. Updated and created. Can the public users get that? I think that makes sense. We don't need to hide that sort of stuff. Let's change the data. I don't know what these equate to in date format, so let's we'll get the test to throw an error, and we'll just copy and paste what it actually got. That's actually a good test to see it as well. Right, title. So this will be description. Environments will be. I think I want to get this wrong. Let me just check my other test because of the nesting. Let's have a look. So in the get public and environment. Oh, I suppose I could do this. Should have an object. We could say should have an array, and we can then check. Oh, there's the format. I think that should be pretty close to the date. Maybe in the list we have that. Oh yeah, so it should have an array, and in row 1 it should be this. So we can do that as well. Let me go back to our test, and I will put this in here. Actually, I can change both of them. I think I copied and pasted both of them. Those dates might be wrong, and then we can still have owner and title. Let me copy this again. I do a lot of copy and paste. Once I've written something once, I do use it again and again. But in the environments part, it should be this. It should have an array, field, environments, and in row 1, I'm expecting a UUID and the owner and the title. We don't actually join that data, I don't think. So it is just IDs we have. But I think we should maybe join the data in the get. Because in the get, so we'll have to update the code for that, because in the get code, we're just getting nesting of 1 level. But we don't want just the ID, right? We want to know all the environments in there. We don't want to make, if you have 10 environments in there, we don't want to make 10 more calls, because then it's just too much traffic, too slow. So let's see. Actually, this is a bit more of a challenge than I thought, but let's do it. So in row 1, we have got the project ID E1. So let's open the data of environments, and let's open. We're expecting this one. So expecting that ID and those details. Let me go to the list public, and in fact, let's copy that whole thing. Let's go to here, because we are expecting that entire item. Now this is environment D, and I don't think the ID we've got in our data is environment D. What have we got? Where's project? I'll write the end. In projects, we've got environment 1, which is probably environment A. Yes, yeah, it is A. Okay, we could do C and D. So 3 and 4. What do we have? We have 3. Okay, we can just leave it with 3 for now. That's fine. But with our test, so in row 1 we're expecting that, and in row 2 we would be expecting the second one. Let me go, where did we get that? Oh, we haven't got a row 2 here, that's fine. Hopefully I'm not going too slow to make people bored, and hopefully I'm not going too fast so people get lost. So we're expecting these 2. This one will be, that will be A, we said, won't it? Well, didn't we, in fact? So it's owned by the same owner, that's okay. And some of this data will be incorrect, but we'll get the test to correct it for us. We're more interested in the ID. Actually, let me grab those IDs so we can make sure we do get it in the data in the right order. So we go using the UUID, which means it just checks the format. We actually want to make sure we get the right one. This will be environment A, and this one will be 3, and then that will be C. And some of the other data will be incorrect, but we can come back to that. Okay, so let's have a look. This should fail. Let me run this, and it should fail now. So we had 6 passing, but it should now fail. And I'm going to add the tag at the top, project get public, because I want it just to run just this specific file. Let's have a look and run that. And now that should fail because this is not. Let me stop that. I've just noticed a mistake. That doesn't say. This is a list. It should say environment. Environments is the field here. Environments, if you see it. Okay, so let me run that again. That will still fail. But we can check that the environment is an array, and in row 1 we expect this data, which we won't get because we haven't joined that data 1 yet. We will join it. I'm trying to think how we'll join it. So we get the project, and then we can maybe go to DynamoDB and get all the environments that we want, and just add them on and return it. Maybe we can do something like that. Okay, so we got failures, and it failed right up here because environments with row 1 should have that, and we didn't get that. We need more information. Let's see. Cannot read property ID of undefined. Okay. So it failed at which step? So that all passes. It checks the ID, it checks the owner, it checks the title, and description for it 3. And then here it says, yeah, cannot read ID of undefined environments. Okay, that's fine. It couldn't read the ID because this doesn't return an ID yet. It's just a collection. So let's have a look. Let's go to the code now, right? Get to the more interesting part. We're doing the public one, aren't we? Yep. So if I go to we have to do the same for the private one too. So maybe we can keep that dry, and therefore we don't repeat ourselves. But let's have a look at here and see. So we do we get the project, and we know the IDs of the environments that belong to that project. So how can we get that? Because they are in two tables. I'm now rethinking, maybe I should have architected this slightly differently. If it was SQL, we could do a join, but we're in NoSQL, so they are 2 separate tables, and with DynamoDB you can't do a join like that. Actually, with most NoSQLs you can't, that's how they're so fast. Let's have a think and see. I am planning to move to Aurora serverless, so to go to a SQL solution, and have a NoSQL as for aggregations and calculations and graphs and the rest. But that's not right now. Hey Dev Journey, thanks for coming back and joining us. What have you missed? I wrote some more tests. I wrote to actually get a resource rather than just list it for the environment. And what I noticed is what would be useful. So we got this test part of the test passing. So we go to, as a public user, as you can see, there's no given I am logged in here, and it goes to this URL with this ID, and I just noticed that's the wrong test, sorry, this one. So projects number 3, I want to get this URL and I'm not logged in. And these results are correct, so I do get the data. So we've got the code working to say, make sure the IDs, this matches the one I requested, the owner, the title and description. But what we noticed was that in the test data, we have this environment with just the ID. And if we go to the UI, and we have to make lots of requests. So say if you have an environment that has 10 IDs, sorry, a project that has an environment with 10 IDs, then we're going to have to kind of make all those calls to the back end. So I've been thinking that although the test data only has the ID, what I'm thinking is we join the data in the code so that we do get the relevant data in that one hit. That's my thinking. So I will have to also then iterate on that and remove some of the data that I don't want the public person to see. I'm kind of thinking that I should move to serverless Aurora sooner and away from DynamoDB. I don't think NoSQL is the right solution. I did hear you say just as I was loading up that you're thinking of swapping to Aurora. So the one thing that really attracted me to DynamoDB on AWS was the way it managed its scaling, a bit like serverless. It just scaled automatically, and the way you paid for stuff, you paid for usage rather than, hey, I need a VM that's 8 gigs, 8 cores, and you're going to be paying £200 a month, and if you don't use it, you're still paying that. But now AWS have brought out Aurora serverless, where you can have Postgres or MySQL, and it's the same, I guess, infrastructure as DynamoDB in terms of, to us, we don't care. It's a serverless database, and they only charge us for usage. And the free tier is really juicy. I mean, you get like juicy, generous. It's like 25 gigs of storage. I mean, that's a pretty big database if you think about it. So I actually really think of moving over to that, but I wasn't going to do that just yet. But actually, I might have to move sooner because it'd be so easy just to do a join the other way, just to say, well, here I'm listing my environments, but now I want projects now, but join on the projects to the environments rather than me trying to do that in code. I'm really torn now. What do people think? Because I have this conference in June, and I don't want to do stuff in the kind of you can't see, because in this conference that DashboardHub is exhibiting at, I want people to see stuff, and unfortunately people only see the shiny kind of UI front end stuff. I don't want to spend the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long it takes, doing kind of stuff you can't see. Although it would be really beneficial to the project, but I could do it after then, after June, kind of mid-June. Why do you think you're swapping though, like the structure? Yeah, because if I've got a table of environments that I've created months ago and the data's in that, and now I want to create a way to have projects that view the environments, that include the environments. You have a project that maybe has 3 or 4 environments. Then either I let the UI join the data, or I do it in the code on the API, because NoSQL can't join that data. You can't do joins in NoSQL unless you have it nested within the object. So maybe I'll just get the UI to do it. Maybe I'll leave it as IDs and get the UI to do it. But then the UI, when you go to your project page, not only will you have a resolve on Angular that prevents the page from loading until the project is loaded, but then it's going to have to go make 2, 3, 4, 10 calls for to get all the environment information. I mean, speed-wise, you're best with NoSQL, correct? NoSQL is faster because it doesn't have a lot of the functionality that SQL has. So the SQL, you can do joins, you can do so many other things. That's why it becomes slower. But with NoSQL, you don't have those joins. You just have the document within that table, and it's indexed very differently. But my plan would be to add a NoSQL on later on, but more as a kind of a cache, as in that data is refreshed from the SQL. So I am thinking of doing that. I just I'm opposite, I'm moving to NoSQL. Okay, move to NoSQL and let me know in 3 or 6 months how you got on, because this is the first project I've done with NoSQL as the main source of truth. I've done other stuff in the past where I've had a SQL database and then it replicated over to like Elastic, so a NoSQL solution, and then I could use that for searching or for aggregating data, all that great stuff, and I could keep duplicate copies of the data in different formats, nested in different ways, and that worked perfectly. But SQL was my one source of truth, and I moved away from that. I was just making it really simple and lean and just have one database. But I'm realizing that I don't think that works so well. Yeah, Mongo with Redis I'm thinking of using. Yeah, Venzra, who's on here a lot, is thinking of, he does use Mongo a lot, and he hasn't felt that he needed to use Redis or anything like that because it's been pretty quick already. So yeah, I'm just thinking, how should I do this for now? Maybe I just join it in the UI for now. Just be a bit slower and a bit not as nice. I think I need to do a spike and see how hard it would be to move over to Aurora serverless. I'm not going to do this for now. I've changed my mind, so I'm not going to check the environments data. Let's just leave it how it is. Let's just run this again and see how it goes. I'm really thinking I need to move to a SQL. You seem a bit bummed out. Yeah, because I got this event in June. I think like in 8 weeks, exactly 8 weeks from now. And I was keen to add these cool features on. I mean, a requested feature a lot has been the projects view, where you can group your environments together. But yeah, I just didn't think it through how I was going to do it. So either I can join the data in the API. That's more code that I want to throw away once I move to the SQL solution. So I don't want to do that. I could do it in the UI, but there's still code I want to throw away in the future. I don't like throwing away stuff, so I would rather kind of, I don't know, happy to refactor stuff, got the automated test for that, but don't like to throw stuff away. Let me just check. 6.5, oh yeah, so this is slightly incorrect. So it got a 5, that's fine. And let me duplicate this down below. But it's good that I'm sharing my pain points with you. It shows you that, after all the years of coding and so on, you still can't get it right. You plan ahead as much as possible. You use some shiny new tech that solves quite a few of your problems, but then other problems arise and you have to kind of just react to it in a certain way. We try and be as proactive as possible, but we need to be realistic that things change. That's why we want to keep things lean and mean. So let's have a thing. So those tests passed. Got 3 tests passing. Let me just remove that public on the end, and we can run the entire that section project get. We've got some more tests to do on the private one though, because we would want to check the fields as well in the private, and we should get more fields. And actually, in the public, I think I have a test that I can say should not have the field is private. So that's one thing that I've removed for the public work. So let me just put that in and just make sure that actually works. Let's run that again and just check that there is no field because it is private. I managed to get environments working on Node. Environment variables, okay, I don't like it though. Environment variables are good for hiding secret stuff and keeping it a bit flexible. You can use config files as well. There's a few ways to kind of look at it, but config files can, I guess, accidentally get committed to the code base. It's easier to see. So that also passed. So the good thing is that the isPrivate field is hidden. Okay, and if we go to, I'm going to copy this again. I've made so many mistakes of copying and pasting. I don't know why I'm doing it again. And I want to check this. So we're checking number 2. So the ID will be 2, but the owner will be me, I think. Yeah, it will be the test user. Oh, me, I mean a test user. So let's change that. And it will be project 2. And it will be that isPrivate. It will have an isPrivate field, so let me just delete that. And we will say that is private, and it will be true. Would it be quoted? I don't think it'll be quoted. It's a boolean. I think that's correct. Let's run that and see. So now we're going to run both files, the project get. What else have I got in the chat? So you don't like it though. I have to do require.env config in the constructor as doing import as .env from .env and then doing .env config. One of my lights is sliding down my wall. Doesn't seem to work. But in your to grab an environment variable, it's because you're using a config file, I think, for your environment variables for local development, maybe. Again, Ven's really good at this sort of stuff. You can use, if I show you how I'm using environment variables, if I can remember where I use it. Let me see. I think I'm using my test directory in the world project. Here we go. So I just do this process.env. And I'm just getting the node environment here, which is development in this case. And you can just do process, and I have got dollar handlebars around it because it's in backticks. But I can copy that paste. You should be able to do this in your code. I paste that in for you. We should be able to do that. Okay, so we've got one failure. What do we fail? Okay, it's fine. This is a 4. That's all. Just the dummy date that we put in just didn't match in the copy and paste. I knew that would fail. So I think that is good. How long have we been streaming for? Coming up to an hour and a half. Hopefully people are finding this useful and enjoying joining me on this journey on Dashboard Hub. I would love to stream the event in June as well for the entire day. It'll probably be a little bit boring. But you can hop in on and off and just see what's going on. But I don't know if they, in their T's and C's or privacy statements, say you can't stream it. So I will check and ask and see. I'll just stick an iPad in the corner and just stream it away. It'll probably be too noisy to hear anything, but you get to see kind of how busy the event is and what's going on and so forth. I did that, but I wanted to do process.env. Yeah, you can do that. So what you would do is then just change the end of it. So after end, just go dot, and you can do JWT secret. So you can still do that. So process is the node process. .env is the environment bucket. That's the right word, or object. And then you can put dot and whatever you want afterwards. So do commit it up to GitHub. We can have a look. Okay, so they all passed. Awesome. So now we have the gets working. What else do we need to check? I do need to check that I can't get someone else's environment even though I'm logged in actually. That's one test we forgot to write. So if I duplicate this one, cannot retrieve a private environment if not mine, if not owner, I guess. And then what we want to do, the test user is this user, and the one that's not owned by them is number 3. But it is private false, so they would be able to see it. Not on that endpoint actually. No, that would work. That test should then work actually. The number 3, I shouldn't be able to get. I can't remember if I get a 4. I think I get a 404 to try and hide that they've guessed the ID right. I mean, we can look at the code and have a look and see. So what we have is on the private side, if you're not the owner, return a 404. So let's have a look and see. So we're asking for number 3, and we're not the owner. Let's have a look. I think that'd be a good test to check as well. And that reads it from the end file. No, it'll read it from the environment variable. So the end file, I think, is trying to simulate the environment variable. I haven't actually used that library, and it does look pretty good. But if you do it, so when you run your node command, just prepend it with the environment variable that you want. So if I give you an example, so if you're running the command, I don't know, node server.js, say for example, but you want that to have an environment variable in front of it. Just you don't want to change it in your whole shell or your whole bash. You can just go JWT secret. What's right there? Secret equals ABCD, and then go node server.js. If you got to my project, then server root middleware authentication. You can see what I mean. And go to add login branch. Okay, we can take a look at that. Let's see. Let me think. I need to switch over so you all can see my browser, so you can see what I'm looking at. Bear with me 1 second. If we go back to that, and I did do that, so I'll close that later. But if we just open a new tab, and it was hackathon. It was hackathon, right? I think. Hack the North. That wasn't the one. No. Can you share the link again? Sorry, I'm not logged in. I'm using a different browser, and I'm logged in to GitHub as my wife as well. But can you? What's the name of the organization? Was it Hackathons? No. I haven't got it in. Oh, actually, I can see it on the browser. I can copy and paste it over. Let me do that. Let's have a look. Where is my browser? I can't see it anywhere. Too many screens. Okay, so if we just go there, go GitHub. Here we go. Right, okay, I found it, all is good. Here's the URL. Okay, and if we go to the beginning, and then why do I have sound coming somewhere? Let's have a look. A YouTube video started playing, which is not very good. Let's close that YouTube video. Okay, right, so this is, now what is running? You open a browser and then things just start playing. Okay, stop playing. No more YouTube videos play. The autoplay kind of sucks. Right. So you should be able to see this. Hopefully, all is good. And let me see. Oh, the forums one. Okay, got you. Let me copy that. Okay, we'll get there eventually. And then you said go to server. Let me switch branch first. Adding login. Server. What was next? Root. Middleware. And authentication. Yeah, usually the require goes in as an import at the top, and then in down here you would go .config. But if you're trying to just get, you have got process and JWT, but it won't read it from the file. So you would have to prepend the command. Let me think. Yeah, so in the example I gave, if you what command? Let me check. My light is still slowly sliding down further. Gulp and navigate to that. So gulp runs it. Okay, what does gulp have? Watch and compile. Okay. Script bin boot. Let me think. This one's the distraction project I'm working on. .env allows you to do process.env variable from a file. Yeah, it does do it from a file, but I don't see the need to do it from a file. If I bring up, let me go back to my terminal, not terminal, my IntelliJ. Let's have a look, and if I show that. So when you're running the command, so here in my test command, my command down here right at the bottom, if you can see that, I'm just checking. It says make test. That's the command that I'm running. But I do have an environment variable which is called test tags, and then I'm saying equals at project get. So you can put any environment variables you want. So if I had a JWT in here, I could go JWT. Oh, go back far enough. JWT underscore secret equals A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and put a space, and now I've got another environment variable. So I've got two. I've got JWT secret, and I've got test tags, and the values of those will be read by the command. So in this case, my command is make test. Yours would be the gulp command. To prepend your gulp command with the environment variable that you want, and you don't need to include that library and make it. I think that makes it a bit kind of more complicated. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that helps. But that's what I would do. I did look at using that .env library, so you can have config files, but I think I always get worried people might commit certain things, and then you have to kind of recycle keys and all the rest. I think it makes it a lot easier to just in your command you run what you want and know. Okay, yes, when I live streaming I make lots of mistakes and show you my keys that are in my commands. I've kind of got them off screen at the moment, but in terms of I can't accidentally commit any of those environment variables. So that's what I would do. That's my recommendation. I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm always learning myself, but that's what I kind of my favorite way of doing things. Okay, let me see, where do we get to? So we've got one failing test, and I was saying a 404, but it gets a 403. Okay, interesting. I think the 403 is one of the things I do want to sort out. I think it gets a 403. Someone cheered me 100. Dev Journey cheered me 100. Awesome. I'm still learning what that means. At 100 bits, right? So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I love the sound it makes and all that cool stuff. So that's really good. I run that test again. So I've changed it to a 403 rather than a 404. Yeah, I need to kind of tweak those status codes. But it is a 403 is correct. You're not allowed access to that environment. You're not the owner of it. I prefer maybe like GitHub way of doing it, whereas you try to access something that's private and you shouldn't know about it, it makes it a 404. So you don't know that you actually hit a resource that you're not allowed to hit. I think that's pretty good. Sorry, it's not much. No, it's the most I've had, I think. So I really appreciate it. Little and often, just like coding, just like open source, right? Little and often, rather than getting, I don't know, 1,000 in one go, I'd rather have, I suppose, 100 over 10 different occasions. It's quite exciting to have that noise, get that thing, get that kind of alert moving up on the screen, kind of doing it. So yeah, it's no, it's cool. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Dev Journey. The badge that came up, I don't think I did that. I just kind of added the alert. I need to customize those sorts of badges, I think. I have got someone, so in addition to getting the Twitch coders stickers arriving on Wednesday, or just the 10 samples, and I'll order more if they're the right size, and I'll send them out to all of you, is I've got myself, I'm trying to get myself a new overlay, because this overlay I've done myself. I'm trying to get a professional one done, and I'm hoping that'll be done by end of next week. And then I'm off to Thailand for 2 weeks, but I will try and stream from Thailand. I don't know how good the internet will be. I might have to reduce the quality of the stream, but we'll see. So we've got test passing now, awesome. So in the private one, we do check that I can't access, even though I am logged in, or let me write that down actually. Given, another mistake I didn't notice, given I am logged in, let's run this and make sure. So now it will log in to auth0, get a JWT, and do the actual API request. So let's have a look. Why that's running, does anyone want to see my cool setup? No, you can't actually, because my light is hanging off on the side. So I might quickly show it to you. You might not be able to see the light for 2 reasons. One, because it's really bright, and 2, because my face is in front of it. So you can't see it on the right over here. But that light is half falling down now, which is quite embarrassing. I was playing with that just before the stream, that's why I was getting on a bit late. But thanks everyone for joining me. It's been a great morning. I've got some, one failed. Let me see. So it is a 403, right? So if you're not logged in, I get a 403 because the authentication method before the actual method that we wrote the code in says, well, you're not logged in, you can't access this endpoint. Because if I show you, we say that this endpoint as the authorizer. So the authorizer is throwing you out even before you get to this function here. So that 403 before, but now I was correct. But now I've added given I'm logged in, the authorizer will let me through. But as I don't own it, it will say a 404. So we were correct first in terms of our test, but we forgot to add the line given I'm logged in, which actually uses the gets a JWT and uses it on the request it makes to the API. But hopefully this has been useful for everyone. You've enjoyed coding this morning with myself, and I'm working this forward. So now we've got the project list, private, public, and we've got the get resource, private and public for projects. We still need to do the create, the delete, and the update. But yeah, I'm still bummed about the. Hey, that passed 7. Are you surprised? I'm still bummed about the the nesting of the data that with the environment. So you have the projects, and then we want to have the environment underneath. But we'll do that in the UI, I think, for now. I am going to, while I have my lunch, probably have a look at seeing how hard it would be to switch to Aurora serverless. You'll all probably shoot me for like spending the next 2 to 4 weeks switching the database out. I'll probably hate myself for it because I was spent all that time, and visually it will still work the same. But maybe it's one of those things that needs to be done, I suppose. Let's see. Oh, Dev Jolie, thanks for the tweet yesterday. I didn't have a chance to check the alert to see what was wrong with it, why the tweet didn't come through onto. So I'm quite keen to integrate Twitter into my stream. So if people do retweet my a tweet to say that I'm going live, then you kind of get a shout out on the top left corner of my screen, and you kind of get a shout out yourself as well, which I think is important. I love our community, the coding community, especially on Twitch. Everyone seems very supportive. I have people hosting me, I host other people. So if you do stream coding sessions on Twitch, do let me know. And I'm more than happy to raid you, host you, come and watch you, just get involved in the chat and see what you're working on. So and I hope the code that you are doing is open source as well. And we can have a look at the code and see. So I'm thinking it's, how long are we going for? Just over an hour and a half. We've got the tests passing, all green. Thinking maybe it's time to maybe break for lunch, and hopefully we'll come back this afternoon with and we'll do some more work. We'll get the post and the update, so I'll do it as a patch rather than the put, like update individual fields, and delete. We'll get that working this afternoon. And then that will be the API done, and then we can get onto the Angular UI front end, which is all the visual stuff. So yeah, I think it's a good stopping place now. And thank you everyone for contributing and taking part and getting involved. And I think our community is awesome. So if you want to chat with us Twitch coders in between streams, do join the Discord below, and we can continue the conversation. Brilliant. Thanks everyone. Any suggestions? Do let me know as well. I'm all open to suggestions on my setup or my coding. Had some good suggestions like yesterday with the lighting, but I haven't broken it today. So yeah, have a great day everyone, and I'll hopefully catch you later on. I'm going to try and switch over to my ending screen right about now.